A plea in the ashes. The sky above the wastelands was thick with dust. Black clouds moved slowly, as if the world had forgotten how to breathe. Damon walked alone, his boots crunching on ash and broken glass. His rifle hung across his back and his coat flapped in the wind. He wasn't searching for trouble, only scrap. Food, fuel, something useful. But then, he heard it. A weak sound. A cough. A whimper. Damon froze. His eyes narrowed as he scanned the ruins around him. There, near, the edge of a shattered dome, he saw movement. He approached slowly, hand on his weapon. Behind a fallen wall, curled in the rubble, was a figure. Thin, dust-covered. Not human. It was an alien woman. She was barely conscious, her body trembling. Her clothes were torn, her silver skin marked with bruises and blood. But what stopped Damon cold was the sight beside her. 2 small children. Alien children. They clung to her sides, their eyes wide with fear and hunger. One was too weak to cry. The other just stared at him, as if unsure whether he was death or salvation. The woman raised her head. Her lips cracked as she tried to speak. "Help, my children," she whispered, voice dry like sand. "Please, they haven't eaten in days." Damon didn't move at first. He'd seen tricks before. Raiders who used wounded actors to bait survivors. But something in her eyes, pure desperation, felt real. He lowered his rifle. "Who are you?" he asked. She didn't answer, only closed her eyes and fell back unconscious. Damon looked around. No signs of an ambush, no footprints, just the wind and the dead. He looked down at the children. Their bones showed through their skin. The older one looked at him with silent pleading. "Damn it," he muttered. Against better judgment, he picked up the smaller child. Light as feathers, then the other, then the woman. He carried them one by one to his old transport cart parked nearby and covered them with a thermal blanket. Back at his outpost, a bunker hidden under a broken shuttle wing, Damon laid them down gently. The kid stirred. The woman didn't wake. He opened an old ration pack, warmed it up, gave the kids small bites. They ate slowly, too tired to rush. He looked over at the woman again. Who was she? Why was she here? Most aliens had left this region, months ago. The war had cleared them out, or so he thought. He checked her vitals. Weak pulse. Dehydrated. But alive. A few hours passed. The fire crackled. The wind howled outside. Then finally her eyes fluttered open. She blinked at the ceiling, confused. "You're safe," Damon said quietly. "Your kids are okay. You passed out." She turned her head slowly and saw them sleeping by the fire. Tears filled her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded. "What happened to you?" She didn't speak for a long time, just stared into the flames. "My name is Zara," she said at last. "We were part of a refugee convoy, fleeing from Sector 9. They found us. We ran, hid. But I couldn't protect them. I lost everything." Damon sat across from her, watching carefully. "Why here?" he asked. "This place is dead." "No one comes to dead places," she said. "I thought maybe we could disappear here." Damon leaned back. He didn't trust easily, but something about her story sounded too broken to be fake. "You should rest," he said. "I'll keep watch." As she closed her eyes, her voice came again, barely a whisper. "If I don't survive, take care of them, please." Damon looked at the kids, then back at her. "I'm not your savior," he said. "I'm just a man trying to survive." Gave a tired smile. "Sometimes, that's all it takes." A mother's vow. Beneath the stars, night fell hard on the wasteland. Inside the bunker, everything was quiet. Too quiet. The children slept near the fire, huddled together under old cloth. Damon sat near the door, rifle across his lap, watching the scanner blink. No movement, No signs of patrols. And yet, he felt something heavy in the air. Like the calm before, a storm. Behind him, he heard a soft voice. "You haven't asked my real question." It was Zira. She sat up slowly, her back against the wall, her long silver hair now combed back with trembling fingers. Her alien eyes, bright, violet, full of sorrow, stared straight into his. "What question?" Damon asked. She looked toward her sleeping children. "I didn't ask you to save me," she whispered. "I asked you to save them. But I asked for something more too," Damon remembered. "Take care of them, please." At the time, it sounded like a dying mother's last wish. Now it felt like something deeper. "I'm not exactly father material," he said dryly. Zira smiled faintly. "And I am not just a widow." There was silence for a moment. She pulled out a crystal pendant from her neck, a soft blue glow pulsing inside it. "In my people's old ways, when a mother's bond breaks, the stars allow her one vow to pass to another. If a stranger feeds her children, shelters them, protects them, then she may offer him something no warrior or king has earned." Damon raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" Her voice turned serious, soft but firm. Her soul, her bond, her hand, her everything. Damon stood there speechless. "You mean, I offer to be yours," she said. "Not as a burden, not as a debt, but as a vow. Adopt my children, and I vow myself to you." The words felt ancient, sacred, and yet impossibly personal. Damon looked at her, at the kids, then away. "This is crazy," he muttered. "I found you in rubble. You almost died. Now you're asking to become my, what, wife?" Zara nodded slowly. "In your words, yes." "Why?" Her eyes shimmered again. "Because they need a future, and I cannot give them one alone. Not anymore." Damon leaned against the wall, hand on his face. He didn't know what to feel. Was this real? A desperate alien mother offering herself just to protect her kids? He should have said no. But instead, he said nothing. Hours passed. Damon lay awake, staring at the bunker ceiling. Zara didn't speak again. She just sat by her children, holding them close, humming a soft lullaby in a language he didn't know. In the dark, her voice echoed like a memory. Suddenly, the scanner blinked red. Damon jumped up. 2 blips, fast, small, moving toward the bunker. "Drones. Get down," he said. Zara grabbed the kids and pulled them behind a crate. Damon loaded his rifle, heart pounding. A bright blue flash filled the outside air as a scout drone hovered near the entrance, scanning the rocks. "Subject DNA match. Confirmed. Orders. Retrieve royal targets. Use minimal force." Zara's face turned pale. "They found us." Damon cursed under his breath. The second drone zipped forward, laser dot flickering near the bunker hatch. Zara turned to Damon. "Don't let them take my children, if you must. Kill me, but don't let them take us." He looked at her trembling hands, at the way she put her body between the drones and her children. "No, not like this." He lifted his rifle, aimed at the first drone's lens, and fired. The bunker shook as the firefight began. Sparks flew. Damon ducked and rolled, hitting the second drone midair. It crashed into the wall, screaming in static. The kids screamed. Zara shielded them. The first drone fired a pulse beam that singed Damon's arm, but he didn't stop. He lunged forward and drove his blade straight into the drone's core. Sparks exploded. Silence returned. Smoke drifted through the bunker. Zara crawled toward Damon as he collapsed to the ground, breathing hard. You didn't run," she said, tears in her eyes. He looked at her, injured but steady. "I may be human," he said, "but I don't abandon children, or mothers who stand to protect them." Zara leaned closer. "Then my vow still stands." She placed the glowing pendant in his hand. "From this moment," she whispered, "you are their guardian. And mine." The children of another star dawn broke like a quiet sigh. The sky turned pale orange, washing over the ash-filled wasteland outside. Inside the bunker, Damon stood at the edge of the hatch, staring out with tired eyes. Smoke still lingered from last night's drone attack. He hadn't slept. Not really. Behind him, faint laughter echoed. Not Zara's. The children. It was the first time he'd heard them laugh. He turned. Zara sat with them near the fire. She had tied her long silver hair back and looked stronger today, calmer. The smaller child, the girl, was smiling, holding a cracked metal spoon like a toy. The older one, a boy with sharper eyes, was drawing something in the dirt with a stick. Strange symbols, lines, stars. Damon walked over. "What's he drawing?" he asked. Zara looked at it. "Our constellation, the mother's crown." He remembers it still. The boy glanced up at Damon, his eyes glowing faintly violet in the light. "What's his name?" Damon asked. "Kyle," Zara replied softly. "And the little one is Elira." Damon crouched down, studying the lines Kale had drawn. It wasn't random. It looked like a map, but not of Earth. Zara noticed his expression. "He remembers, more than I do. He was born in the sky before we fell." "Fell?" Zara nodded. "My escape pod crashed here. I don't know how many others survived. Maybe none." Damon stared at the map again. "Why does he draw it every day?" She smiled, sadly. "Because he still believes someone out there is coming for us." Later that day, Damon began fixing the damage in the bunker. Zara helped, patching the outer hatch with metal shards. The kids gathered broken tech pieces and brought them to him like little scavenger assistants. Kale handed him a busted datapad. Damon almost tossed it until he noticed a strange blue symbol blinking on the corner. "Is this thing active?" he muttered. He sat down and tried to power it up. Static. Then a faint hum. A hologram flickered to life, text in an alien script. Zara rushed over, her face turning pale. "What is it?" Damon asked. She leaned in. "It's a distress signal from the Royal Ark. It's still broadcasting." Damon raised an eyebrow. "Royal Ark?" She looked at him, her voice shaking. "The last ship of my people. My family was on it. If it's still alive, someone may still be looking for my children." Suddenly, Kale spoke. "Elira's mark. The key." Damon turned to the girl. She was holding a glowing crystal pendant, different from Zara's. It pulsed. Zara gasped. "That's not just a pendant. It's an identity key." Kale added, "It opens the Waystar." Damon stood up. "Okay, I'm lost." Zara placed a hand on Damon's shoulder, her expression intense now. "The Waystar is a safe route hidden in space. Only the royal family knows it. If the Ark is near, we can call it, if we survive long enough." Damon sighed. "And let me guess. Those drones were just scouts." Zara nodded. "The real hunters will come soon." That night, Damon sat with Kale on the roof of the bunker. The boy pointed up at the stars, then at the constellation he had drawn earlier. "Do you think my father is there?" Kale asked. Damon hesitated. "I don't know, kid. But I do know one thing. Your mom's stronger than anyone I've ever met." Kale looked down. "She cries when we sleep." Damon looked at the boy, surprised. "She's scared," Kale said. "But she won't say it." Damon placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we be strong for her. Deal?" Kale nodded. Behind them, Zara watched from the hatch, silent, eyes full of quiet emotion. As the stars blinked above them like old memories, Damon realized something had changed. This wasn't just about surviving anymore. He had found something. Buried in the ruins of war. Something ancient. Something worth fighting for. Family. Even if it wasn't by blood. Bounty for blood. The desert wind changed that morning. It was dry before, but now it felt sharp. Like blades in the air. Damon knew that kind of air. It always came before blood was spilled. He woke up before the others and checked the scanner. No red dots, no movement. But still. His gut twisted. Something wasn't right. Inside the bunker, Zara prepared a strange herbal soup from desert roots. Elira clung to her side, still half asleep. Kale sat beside Damon, watching him load a small plasma pistol. "Why do you keep watching the scanner?" Kale asked. Damon didn't answer at first. Then, he looked the boy in the eyes. "Because I've survived long enough to know when danger is hiding behind silence." Kale frowned. "You think they're coming?" "I know they're coming." By midday, the first sign came. A sound, low, constant, not natural. Zara stepped outside and froze. A black cloud moved on the horizon, not a storm, but dust. "Kicked up by speeders. Tracks," she said. 5. No, 6. Damon lifted his rifle. "They found us." The bounty hunters rode like wolves. Their bikes were black with glowing red cores. They wore armor made of bone and metal, painted, with blood symbols. And their leader? He didn't ride. He floated. Wrapped in a cloak of shifting shadows, the leader's face was covered with a cracked silver mask. His voice echoed through the desert as if spoken by a machine and a ghost at the same time. "Return the heirs, or burn." Zara's face went pale. Damon stood between them and the bunker. His voice was cold. "You'll get nothing." The masked one laughed. "Human, you stand in the path of royal blood. Do you even know what you protect?" Damon's fingers tightened around the rifle. "Yeah," he said. 2 kids, 1 mother. That's all I need to know. They attacked fast. 2. Fast plasma bolts scorched the sand. Damon rolled behind a broken rock wall, returning fire. 1 hunter dropped, but the others spread out, flanking both sides. Zara grabbed Kale and Elira and dragged them deeper inside. 1 hunter slipped through a side tunnel, almost reaching them, until Zara tackled him head-on, slamming a blade through his armor. Blood splattered. Her hands shook. Kale screamed, "Mama!" "I'm fine," she shouted, even though her arm bled. Damon ran inside just in time to see her slump against the wall. "Stay with the kids," he said. "I'll finish this." Outside, Damon fought like a man with nothing left to lose. He knew the terrain. He used traps. He moved fast. He made every bullet count. But they were too many. He ducked behind a crate, only to see a glowing blade slice through the side. The masked leader stepped forward. "You fight like you belong to them," the leader said. Damon spat blood. "Maybe I do." The masked figure tilted his head. "Then die like one." He raised his blade, but something flashed between them. Blue light. It was Kale. The boy stood there, holding Elira's pendant high. The glowing crystal pulsed so bright it blinded the hunters. A shockwave erupted. Sand flew. The masked figure stumbled. "Run!" Damon shouted. He grabbed Kale and dragged him inside. The bunker door slammed shut behind them. Inside, everything shook. The walls cracked. The lights flickered. Zara was barely conscious, holding her wounded arm. Damon laid Kale down and looked at her. "That pendant. What the hell was that?" She coughed. "A distress beacon. The crystal wasn't just a key. It's a call." "A call to who?" Zara's voice grew softer. "To the Ark. If it's still out there, they'll come." Damon sat down, panting. "You really believe that?" She reached for his hand. Her touch was warm, despite the chaos. "Outside. I have to." Outside, the masked leader rose slowly from the sand. His armor was cracked. His blade was gone. He looked up at the sky. Far, far above, something blinked in the clouds, a distant light, moving fast. He narrowed his eyes. "They've called the Ark," he growled. "Then the hunt becomes war." Made of my people night fell like a heavy curtain. The bunker was half destroyed, but it held. Damon sat by the fire, shirt off, wrapping a torn cloth around his bruised ribs. His arms were covered in dust, blood, and burn marks. But his eyes stayed locked on the pendant Kale had activated. It still pulsed faintly on the table beside him. A signal. Waiting to be answered. Behind him, soft footsteps. Zira walked in, her injured arm now wrapped tightly, the alien fabric glowing faintly where it touched her skin. She knelt beside Damon without a word. Her presence felt different tonight, closer, quieter, like something had shifted between them since the fight. "You should rest," Damon said, voice low. "I can't," Zira replied. "Not until this is said." Damon turned to her. "Said?" She looked him in the eyes. Her voice didn't tremble this time. "In my people's law, you've done what no male of my kind has ever done. You fought for royal blood, you bled for my children, you stood in front of death and called it by name." Damon frowned. "What are you trying to say?" She reached into her pocket and pulled out another small crystal, a deep violet one. She placed it gently in his hand. "That is a bond stone," she whispered. "It links two lives. In my world, giving it is a vow. Not of ownership, not of debt, but of will." Damon stared at it. "You don't owe me anything," he said quietly. "I'm not giving it because I owe you," she replied. "I give it because I choose to, because I see what you are." He shook his head. "I'm just a scavenger, Zara. I've killed, I've stolen, I've lied to survive. I'm no king." "You're not," she agreed. "You're better. You didn't save us for glory. You did it because your heart still remembers what it means to be human." Outside the bunker, the wind howled. The desert whispered its empty songs. Inside, Damon looked at the crystal, then at her. "Your people," he asked. "Would they really accept a human like me?" Zara smiled softly. "They won't have a choice. The bond is not theirs to decide, it's mine. What about your children?" She turned to the fire, her eyes softening. "They've already accepted you. Kale watches how you walk. He copies the way you hold your tools. Elira hides behind your leg instead of mine." Damon let out a quiet breath. "I didn't plan for this." "Neither did I," she said. "But fate doesn't ask permission." A long silence passed. Damon leaned his head back, staring at the cracked ceiling. "If I take this bond, what happens next?" Zara's voice was almost a whisper. "Then you're no longer protecting us, we're protecting each other." Damon stood up slowly, crystal still in hand. He walked to the side of the room where Kale and Elira slept beneath a thick blanket. He watched them for a moment. Their breathing was calm. Safe. Like they finally felt home. He turned back to Zara. "I don't know what kind of man I'll be tomorrow, but if they need me, I'll stay." Zara stood too, and then she did something Damon didn't expect. She bowed. Not like a servant, but like a warrior offering her name to a blade. "I, Zara, of the fallen crown, give my vow to Damon of Earth," she said. "Maid of my people, guardian of my children, flame in the ash." Damon didn't know what to say. So instead, he nodded and gently placed the violet stone into the slot of her crystal pendant. A flash of soft light bloomed between them. Two colors, human warmth and alien energy, blending into one. Later that night, Damon lay awake beside the fire. Zara slept nearby, her breath steady, peaceful. He stared up at the stars through a crack in the ceiling, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. But far above them, beyond the sky, a massive shadow drifted closer. A ship. Ancient. Royal. The Ark had heard the call, and it was coming. Heart over species. 3 days passed. No attackers came, no drones, no messages, just the wind, the stars, and silence. But inside the bunker, something had changed. Zara no longer avoided Damon's gaze. She didn't call him stranger or human. She called him mate. And the children, Kale and Elira, they had started calling him something too. "Damon da," Elira said sweetly, pulling his coat one morning. "More food?" Damon blinked. What did you just call me? Da, she said again, pointing at her mouth. Zara chuckled from across the room. In our tongue, it means father. Damon looked at Illyra, then at Kale, who was watching quietly from the corner. He wasn't ready. But maybe they were. Later, Kale followed Damon outside while he scavenged parts to fix the perimeter scanner. The boy held a sharp stick, pretending it was a blade. He moved like a soldier, mimicking Damon's steps. You ever hold a real one? Damon asked. Kale shook his head. Mother said weapons bring death. She's not wrong, Damon replied, but sometimes they protect what matters. Kale looked up at him. Are we what matters? Damon stopped. He knelt beside the boy and placed a hand on his shoulder. You're everything that matters right now. Inside, Zara boiled strange herbs in a cracked pot. The scent filled the bunker, earthy, calming. She hummed a lullaby. Damon didn't understand, but the melody stayed in his head long after it ended. You sing a lot lately, Damon said. Zara smiled. It keeps the shadows away. He looked at her. Really looked. She had changed since the day he found her. In the rubble, she stood straighter, spoke softer. Her strength was still there, but now wrapped in peace. You're healing, he said. She nodded. Because I have something to live for again. Then she reached out and gently touched his chest, over his heart. And someone. That evening, the four of them sat outside under the stars, wrapped in blankets, eating soup and staring at the sky. It was the first time Damon didn't think about running, or dying, or what was waiting in the dust. Kyle drew constellations in the sand again. Illyra fell asleep in Zara's lap. Damon leaned against the wall watching them. Your people, they'll come for you, right? He asked softly. Zara nodded. They must. The Ark is old but loyal. It follows the bond signal. Damon looked down. And when they come, what happens to me? Zara turned toward him. Her voice was firm. You stay. He raised an eyebrow. What if your people don't want me? They don't choose, I do. And if they try to take the kids? Zara's eyes sharpened. They won't. Because they are no longer just mine. They are ours now. That night, Damon couldn't sleep. The stars felt too close. The silence, too loud. He walked to the roof of the bunker and sat with his rifle, scanning the distance. Suddenly, a low hum echoed above him. He looked up. A light blinked in the sky. Then 2. Then 5. Ships. But they weren't bounty hunters. They were clean. Sleek. Quiet as whispers. One massive vessel hovered in the clouds, invisible to most, but Damon could feel it in his bones. The Ark had arrived. At dawn, Zara stood at the edge of the sand, her pendant glowing again. They found us, she said. Damon stood beside her, hand on Kale's shoulder. A small silver pod descended from the clouds, landing gently in front of them. It opened with a hiss. Inside stood 3 figures, tall, regal, dressed in robes of white and gold. Their eyes glowed softly like Zara's, but colder, sharper. One of them stepped forward. Zara of the Crown, he said. We come to retrieve the heirs. The blood must be preserved. Zara stood tall. The heirs are here. But they are not alone. The alien's eyes narrowed. Who is this human? She stepped between them. My mate. The aliens looked at Damon with obvious discomfort. He is unblooded. He is worthy, Zara replied. He fought. He bled. He chose us when no one else did. Kale stepped forward too. I choose him. Then Illyra, clinging to Damon's leg, whispered, Damon da. The silence between both species stretched like a wire ready to snap. Then finally the lead alien bowed his head. Very well, he said. The bond is honored. The family stands. As the pod rose again, Zara turned to Damon. You were afraid, weren't you? He smirked. Terrified. She smiled and wrapped her arms around him. But you stayed anyway. He looked at the sky. Because heart doesn't care about species. The vow of stars. The Ark hovered silently above the desert. It was not just a ship. It was a memory wrapped in metal. A ghost of a fallen civilization. Damon stood at the edge of the dunes, staring at the vessel that now owned the sky. It was beautiful. And terrifying. He wasn't sure if it had come to welcome him. Or test him. Behind him, Zira approached. Her cloak danced in the wind, and her pendant glowed softly near her heart. She looked at him with a strange mixture of pride and sadness. "They will not understand you," she said gently. "I'm used to that," Damon replied. "They will doubt. They will judge. Some will hate you for being other." He looked at her. "And what about you?" "I chose my vow," she said. "Let them try to break it." That evening they stood before the Ark's outer gate, a grand platform of light that hummed like ancient music. Kale and Elira held each other's hands wide-eyed. The same alien envoy from earlier greeted them, but this time he bowed lower. "A trial has been called," he said. Zara stepped forward. "A trial? It is tradition. The council will question your bond. You must defend your union before the stars." Damon crossed his arms. "Sounds like your people don't believe in love unless it has paperwork." Zara gave him a small smirk. "They believe in bloodlines, Damon, not bonds. Then we'll show them something better." The trial was held in the Ark's inner sanctum, a glowing chamber filled with floating crystal panels, ancient symbols, and voices that echoed without mouths. 12 council members sat in silence, their eyes watching, judging. Zira stood tall beside Damon, dressed in ceremonial robes. Damon wore simple clothes, his old desert coat and boots patched and stained, but proud. "You stand before the Ark," one of the council members said. "A human, once lost in dust, now claiming the mate of royal blood." "Not claiming," Damon replied. "Protecting, loving," the chamber murmured. Another counselor leaned forward. "And if we say no? If we say the bond is unfit?" Damon stepped closer. "Then I walk away. But I take them with me. I won't leave them behind. Not after what we've survived." Kale stepped forward, eyes steady. "He's my father now." Elira followed, clinging to Damon's side. "Damon da." Zara's voice rang out like steel and silk. "My vow was not made for approval. It was made in fire, in blood, in truth." Then she did something bold. She took her pendant and crushed it under her foot. Gasps filled the room. "That was the symbol of your royal tie," a counselor shouted. Zira raised her chin. "My bond to the old world is broken. My loyalty is to this family." To him, she reached out and Damon took her hand. Together they stood in front of power as equals, as something stronger than tradition. Silence reigned. Then a voice, calm, old, full of gravity, spoke from above. It wasn't from the council. It came from the Ark itself. The ship. "The stars do not honor blood, they honor courage, they honor love. The bond stands. Light engulfed them. Soft, warm, eternal. The Ark accepted them." Later, as the ship descended toward its hidden sanctuary, Damon stood at the window with Elira asleep on his shoulder. Zara leaned against him, Kyle resting beside her. He watched. The stars stretch across the void, no longer cold or distant, just waiting. "I was never meant to be anyone," Damon whispered. Zara smiled. "But you became everything." Before the story closed, Zara spoke one last time. Not to Damon. Not to her children, but to the stars. "We are no longer lost. We are no longer hunted. We are home. And this vow, this strange, human vow, will shine brighter than 1,000 crowns.